Well, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm John Carnegie. I run the BusinessNZ Energy Council. Welcome to the launch of the BusinessNZ Energy Council Young Energy Professionals Network. Sorry, that's a bit of a mouthful. In terms of running order this afternoon, but what I'll do is I'll say a few words and then I'll hand over to the Minister shortly. After he's spoken and we've had a chance for some Q&A from the floor, we'll hear from Jenny Lackey, one of the leaders of the newly formed Young Energy Professionals Network. But before I hand over to you, Minister, I'd just like to say that the BusinessNZ Energy Council is both excited and extremely pleased to be launching the Young Energy Professionals Network, which will to a certain extent operate independently of the Council. Now, as some of us get greyer and greyer, it's actually more important to just keep in mind actually who we're trying to target in terms of the benefit and what we do. And that's clearly future generations, so that's today's young energy professionals and many, of course, of you in the room this afternoon who will actually be leading this country's energy future. And so the establishment of the network is actually a small but hopefully we think a positive step to help provide a more focused channel for input for young energy professionals into the work of the BusinessNZ Energy Council and to encourage knowledge sharing and promote networking opportunities. New Zealand has, we're pleased to say, a very strong record of providing future energy leadership into the work of the World Energy Council, and we're confident that this proud tradition will be not only continued but in fact strengthened with the establishment of the network. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you a person who I hope actually needs a little introduction, the Minister of Energy and Resources, the Honourable Simon Bridges. I'm pleased to say that the Minister does, I believe, quite easily qualify in meeting the criteria of the Young Energy Professionals Network, so he's perfectly placed to speak at this launch today. Minister, the BusinessNZ Energy Council uses the World Energy Council's energy trilemma, so they are the dimensions of energy equity, energy security and environmental sustainability. So we use it as a framework to help us think about the achievement of balanced energy outcomes, and we're proud to say that New Zealand ranks a very creditable 10th on the WEX ranking. We also think that it's very helpful to have a minister with a set of portfolios that essentially embodies those three dimensions: energy, transport and climate change. So we look forward to working with you, Minister, especially as we move into a year that will culminate with the Climate Change Conference at the end of the year and with all the expectations that surround it. So Minister, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thanks, John. Well, thank you very much, John. Am I sort of going? I think I am, or if not, you can hopefully hear me. I was pondering that actually with Jeet, who's here, works with me on the way up, John, whether I am a young energy professional or not. And I suppose, unlike you, I haven't got the expertise, but I am the minister, so maybe that gives me an honorary membership or something of this great group. I just want to really congratulate actually Jenny, Nathan and Sheena, I think, who put this on and started this. I think it's a tremendous, exciting development for not just actually young professionals in energy, but the entire sector. And it's surprising in a way that there hasn't been something like this before, because you think about most areas, whether it's law that I come from or what have you, they do have these kind of opportunities. It's really important that you can get together, network, and frankly exchange gossip about what's going on, who's paying what. I know that's what used to happen at our law ones back in the day, and just get a sense of the scene and the trends and what's happening is hugely valuable. And I really just want to say to you, when I look back on a sort of a misspent youth, I really wish, and I'm not just saying this because I'm here, I really wish I didn't go into law, because it's all process and form. And I look at the energy sector and I see a really vital, vibrant sector that's really making a difference. And you're not form and procedure, you're substance and reality, and you're really enhancing New Zealanders' lives. And I become very passionate, it's an overused word, but about energy. And I made it clear to the Prime Minister before the election and after the election that I really like being Energy Minister. I really enjoyed transport as well. They're tremendous portfolios. I've made this clear to him. I think some of the best portfolios and sectors in government in the country, because I say they do really move the dial and enhance people's lives. And at one level when he said to me, yep, you'll be Transport Minister as well as Energy, I sort of thought, oh yep, that's energy, transport, that's infrastructure. I get that they work together. But they're much more than that, and the match is much better than that, really, because ultimately you think about they are about lifestyles and how we can shape New Zealanders' lives and lifestyles in a much better way. And really, I'm not going to talk long at all, just a couple more minutes, but I've come to the view there's two really big themes running through my portfolios and certainly through energy, and one is climate change. And it's really important that we get on top of that, we take it seriously. And I was just saying to Paul here from Generation Zero, there's not a day goes by that we don't actually seriously think about the implications of climate change in both the energy and the transport portfolios and what we can do about that. But the other one that I suppose gives a lot more hope, if you like, and opportunity is technology. And technology is literally driving everything, I think, in our sectors. And it's really, I think, for good, making a big difference. It gives me a lot of confidence and optimism. And so whether it's gas hydrates and the opportunities there to displace coal and make a difference there when New Zealand do something in that area, whether it's our remarkable renewables story, I think latest count 81% of our electricity system from renewables, and hopefully we think increasing, so we do hit that 90% target, and the ability actually to move that offshore and really seize every opportunity to exploit our renewables opportunity, advantage I should say, whether it's bioenergy, whether it's electric cars. I see Mike Underhill there, and he and I are both zealots for that cause. And we hope that you as young leaders can get all of your businesses switching their fleets over to EVs, because that would really turn the dial actually. But they're just, they're amazing areas where we all have an opportunity to make a difference. And as I say, I think really just capture the benefits of what's happening here and internationally for New Zealanders and the lives that we lead. And so I keep going on. I mean, some of you in the electricity sector, I'm really excited about some of the developments there. An amazing market actually, where I'm convinced the Internet of Things, so-called, is really going to have consumers doing, not in 10 years' time, in 2 years' time, quite remarkable things, and really controlling their demand and how they do things. And of course the benefits of that in terms of climate change and the ability to control your demand are obvious. But you know, just to say once again, congratulations to Jenny, Nathan, Sheena, and YEPN and you, John, for supporting this. I really hope that this isn't a flash in the pan. I'm sure it won't be, but that it's an enduring thing that means that we have the strongest, most vibrant energy sector that we possibly could, because we deserve one in New Zealand actually. It really is an advantage for our country that we need to seize in every way we possibly can. So once again, congratulations, and as a young professional, it's great to be a part of this. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, if there are.
The Minister's agreed to take some questions from the floor, so please, if you have any, now's your chance. There we go.
Great, hi.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Ford from Victoria University.
Great.
So my question to you is, it's so fantastic to hear somebody speaking passionately about this. How might you be able to provide support to us in developing our visions and our sort of work?
Yes, well, I'm going to do everything I can to encourage John to give you guys a big check. I don't have a lot of direct funding, and as Mike well knows, because I'd give him much more if I did, but you know, moral suasion and that sort of influencing role I have, I'm happy to. But I mean, I think Look, I think in all seriousness, we've all sort of got a role, and definitely I do, in a sense, raising the profile of energy. And energy, look, you know, and I'm not perfect in this regard, I think one of the great tragedies is it's become, it could be more divisive than it is. I mean, it's obviously got its complexities, but it's also really part of the opportunity. And I suppose I just say, yeah, we've all sort of got, in a sense, a responsibility, certainly an opportunity to I think, and so I like what, there's one here from Mighty River Power, but actually Contact's doing as well. I really like what they are doing and trying to get people to see, and I accept there's a commercial basis for why they do this well, but trying to people through the EV lens to get people to see that energy is something we have right up there with, you know, the All Blacks and potentially the Black Caps will see as a real advantage for this country. You know, it's right up there. So if you ask your average New Zealander, they would say New Zealand is kind of, we're known for dairy, sheep, tourism, and I don't know, Hobbiton. Well, actually, energy should be like right there because the story is amazing. I mean, as I say, as a layperson who's come in, I'm now convinced of that. So we've all kind of got that role. I do, but you know, you sort of do too. You've got a doctor in front of your name, so I'm presuming it's not in basket weaving. Be okay if it was, but I'm very inclusive in 2015. But you know, so we all got a responsibility. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rosie Reed from PA Consulting. Firstly, it's good to hear about you saying that energy is part of our brand. It's one of the interesting things, you know, I travel a bit internationally with my work, and people ask, well, how come we keep coming across all of these Kiwi energy consultants? And my response to that is because we did it best and we did it first. And it's one of those things that we really shined at in the past. But one of the questions I have for you today is, you know, one of the heated issues in the press is about energy prices. And given the flat demand state, about how consumers are basically saying that they're too high. And as we're trying to look to people to move to things like electric vehicles, I'm just wondering, what sort of future do you see in terms of politically acceptable energy pricing for the future? Yeah,
it's a great question, and look, let me answer it really sort of square. Can I just say on your first part of your question, look, right at the top of my agenda in energy is just that sort of, I mean, I've given you the sort of phrases already, but it's more than just phrases. I just really think we, I want to exploit every opportunity to push our renewables advantage overseas, right? So you just started with that to say that's right up there, and you know, that's in terms of aid, and we've about 100 million. We're doing about $100 million worth of projects that probably some of your companies are involved in the Pacific, you know, turning them solar, wind, etc. And but also I think there's money to be made. I was really disappointed, so I think probably energy news here, is it? I don't know. We'll be careful what to say, but. I was really disappointed to see, in a sense, what happened with Contact when they said that they're looking at doing more geothermal around the Ring of Fire Pacific Rim, because actually, you know, I think that is the next the next story for us potentially. It's got to be done carefully and all those things, but given the flat demand here, you know, we need. Professionals like you to have opportunities. I think overseas there are those opportunities for the companies. Look, in terms of electricity and the market, I'm not giving you a line because genuinely we're 3 years from an election. I sort of don't need to, right? But I genuinely believe if you look at the electricity market right now, it is freaking competitive. Right, and that's, you know, you just have to say last year 7 new players. Yep, they're small, but 7 new players came into the market, taking us to that's highest ever, highest number of both players and brands ever. Of the big boys and girls, 3 of the 5 have said the energy component ain't moving. You know, so that's not to say they won't pass on the lines and the distribution charges where they go, although they're actually set to decrease potentially as well. So you sort of put it all together, and it's a very competitive you know, we used to say in the Electricity Authority, say it's workable competition. I'd say it's actually probably we're a bit past that now. It's you know, certainly if sorry for my friends in the petrol industry here, but it's more competitive than the petrol sector. It's more competitive than the supermarket sector. It's more competitive than the aviation sector. You go through them. So I just think it's actually very competitive. There's pressure on prices. And then you say, well, is there an issue with the, for the most vulnerable? Well, potentially there always is. But then you just look at something like Glowbug that Mighty River Power's rolling out, and the pricing they're doing on that's very sharp. So I'm just saying to you, I'm not saying everything's perfect, it never is, and the Electricity Authority and I need to keep on working on competition and making sure it gets better. But look, it is pretty good. But that would be my view.
Here we go.
Tom. You talked about the 91% renewables target. Can you tell us about any specific policies you've got to support that?
Yeah. So I take from your question, you say, well, you need policies, and you know you've really got to sort of do this, that, and the other thing. I actually think, you know, if you look at New Zealand, you know you don't need government spending a whole lot of money to do that. So when we came in, it was 65%. It's now, like I say, 81%. And you know what has effectively happened is through a lack of subsidisation, like you see in other countries. Geothermal is the most cost competitive. Wind is next, and then it's gas. So I'm highly confident that tomorrow, if a new power plant was required, it would be geothermal. Yeah, and that's you know that's the situation. I think the only thing that possibly gets in the way of that 90% target, although even you know I'm still optimistic and reckon we'll get there for 2025, is the lack of demand at the moment. And so how do you subdue that? I mean, EVs be great, but even that's not going to really shift the dial. Even if everyone went EV, you know, well, you might need a bit more power, but really I think that the analysis shows not necessarily. So that's probably the issue, and then that's about seeing some of the thermal come out of the system. But you know what, I reckon over time it will. Great. Hey, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Simon.
Good one.
Yep.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Now, I know you're all desperate to get back to talking to each other about the cricket on the weekend, or in fact what you did on the weekend, but before we do, I'd like to introduce to you one of the advocates for establishing the Young Energy Professionals Network, and now one of its leaders, Jenny Lackey. Jenny will introduce you to the rest of the network's leadership in a few minutes. Jenny's the strategy manager at ECA, where her primary role is on identifying cost-effective opportunities for households, businesses and the government to use energy more efficiently. Now, Jenny attended the World Energy Congress in Daegu in South Korea last year as one of New Zealand's future energy leaders, and there her focus was looking at ways to make clean energy projects more acceptable to local communities. Now, Jenny is now part of a World Energy Council task force on establishing youth energy networks in member countries, but more about that in a moment. Jenny, over to you.
Thank you guys all for coming. Nathan and Sheena, can I get you to come up here? Thank you, Minister, for introducing our network. I actually was one of those people that gave up the law to work in energy, so I'm pleased that I can finally ring my parents and say that decision's been endorsed by a senior minister. They'll be very pleased. Thanks also to the BEC and John in particular for supporting the establishment of the network and our work in Daegu. First of all, I'd like to introduce the co-founders of the network and my good friends, Sheena Thomas and Nathan Bittle. Sheena is Senior Communications Advisor at Z Energy, with a focus on establishing Z as one of New Zealand's most engaging companies. She was part of the Alternative Transport Fuels Working Group at the World Energy Council's youth program, so if you're interested in alternative transport fuels, chat to Sheena. and continues to be part of the World Energy Council as a member of the Global Energy Scenarios Group, which reflects a lot of work the BEC's also doing about New Zealand's scenarios to 2050. Nathan's currently a Senior Policy Advisor at MB, working on regional economic development, though his background is in energy markets, policy and regulation, as well as resource allocation. He was also at Daegu with us, and then before that in Montreal in 2010. So these are my co-founders, and I want to thank them very much for being with me here to set up this network, and thank to you for being here to be part of it. We all met on the way to Daegu in 2013 and saw the benefits firsthand of being part of a collection of young people in a group talking about the issues that matter to us as future energy leaders. But there was no forum in New Zealand. We looked and there wasn't anything. And I think there's a real opportunity for us to come together and learn about the wider industry and to look at emerging energy issues for New Zealand. So welcome to be part of the network. I won't talk for long because it's hot in here and I'm sure we all want a drink and a chat with our colleagues. But I just want to talk for a second about the network. The network is going to be an open forum. Anyone can be a member. I did have a lot of people ring me to ask me if they were young enough to be a young energy professional. You're all young enough if you feel young enough, was my answer, although some of the more technically minded people wanted a number. So I'll talk to you about that afterwards when I've done the calculations. But so far, I see a lot of young faces and it's very exciting. We also want to get out of Wellington. A lot of the energy players in the room might be from Wellington, but have any of you come from out of Wellington today? Great, thank you for making the trip. We look forward to hosting events in the regions, Christchurch and Auckland, so that we can get those conversations going with people that aren't Beltway and are out doing energy sector work outside of Wellington. So we'll be in touch with you over the next couple of weeks to talk about what the network's going to look like. We're going to ask you what you want to see in the way of events. We don't want to dictate it from up here. We want to ask you what you want to see. We hope there'll be some good debates, hopefully some good arguments, and hopefully some really interesting site visits. I, for one, would like to see an oil refinery, if anyone here can make that happen. But, but otherwise, we'll see what we can do. So enjoy tonight, meet your colleagues, come and chat to us if you want more information. I think it's a really exciting opportunity. I'm overwhelmed by the response. We've got so many people here. It's very exciting for us and I think for the whole industry. So thanks again and talk to you soon. Cheers.